Okay, good evening. Welcome Monday night. Sipurey Maasios here. We are learning the third Maisa Michiga, the story from the Cripple. And let me just share the screen so we can take a look at the text and read and talk about it a little bit. Just make the text a little bigger. So as we said, there was this sage that before he passed away, told his sons and families should be watering trees. You do have permission, to be misasek with other pranasa, but you should water trees. And then he passed away. And he had this son that couldn't walk. As we said, his siblings were giving him pranasa. And he only used what he absolutely had to, put some money together, decided, why should I, live in welfare? Let me, make my own business. And I'll try to do some kind of a business. Even though he can walk, and he decided he's gonna hire a secretary and a wagon driver and a wagon and go to Leipzig and to do the business, even though he can't walk. The family heard this, they liked it. They said, why should we, give him tzedakah? It's better he should have parnasa. They lent him more money so that he'll be able to, to do business. And he hired the people, and he went and he came to a kretschmer, to a place. He said to the Naaman, let us rest here. And he didn't want it. They begged him, and he was stubborn, and they left it. Of the place. So we spoke a great deal about the presence of mind of this particular cripple, that he was extremely independent in his mind. And what happened was, after he was stubborn and they went from there, they got lost in the forest. And robbers, attacked them. And now Rabbeinu goes in an interesting aside. He says, how these people, these robbers, became robbers. It's very possible that by reading and looking at how these people became robbers, we'll understand who these robbers are and what is the whole inyan of being robbed by them. And what made sense about him being stubborn to continue going when they could have just stayed there by the inn. And the Gemara says mefurish, in fact, in Daf Yomi, on this daf, the daf base of Masechet Pesachim, the Gemara says that you should go. You should go out in good, come in good. In other words, it says whenever it is he travels, he should travel during daylight. He should go on his way when it's light, and he should come into town when it's light. And they said, what are the reasons? The Gemara says, what are the reasons? Rashi says, what are the reasons that the Gemara says that's called, go in b'chi tov and go out b'chi tov, as best there is, and go in the best there is, and the mean light. So Rashi says, that you should keep yourself from gazlonim, from robbers, and Tosfos adds on, to keep yourself from the pitfalls in the dark and from the demons. All this is very interesting because all these inyanim exist in this particular story. And Rabbeinu says in Torah Daled that in Torah Ches, he says in Torah Ches that a person needs to purify it is Torah Daled, that the person should purify all the midos from the Daled Yesodis, from the 4 elements, which are the midas res of all the 4 elements. They are the midas res that comes from Yisod Doimim, the element of earth, the inanimate. There is an element, the midas res, which are sadness and depression and so forth. Then a person needs to get rid of the bad midas, the bad traits that emanate from the element of the plant, of tzameach. And then there is, the Chaim Medaber, there is Esh Ruach Maim Afar. It's the fire, it's the wind, it's the water, and it's the earth. The earth represents lethargy, depression, sadness, lack of purpose, which is the originator to all the reasons behind depression and lethargy. The reason why people have problems getting up in the morning is because they don't have a reason to get up in the morning. It's very simple. The reason why people are depressed is not that they should take Prozac, but because they don't have a goal. In the olden days, people had to work very, very hard in order to be able to survive. I mean, if you didn't get up in the morning, you didn't get up at all. I mean, there was no ifs, ands, or buts about it. But as the modern world advanced upon us, things became easier and easier. As it's written in the book Future Shock, it says that humanity is going towards less and less physical effort and more enjoyment. Things become easier and easier and closer. Your phone's right up to your face. There's no more reason to get up in the morning anymore. Then the major difference between the offer and water, which is the thing that makes the plants grow, is what the water interject the will, the element of will. Will represents change. Only reason why somebody changes, I mean, when you want to take a cup, here's a cup, and take it to the mouth and drink it. It's because you want to. It's more difficult to pick up the cup and put it into your mouth if you don't want to than it is to lift a ton when you do want to. So the madrigas of Domem Tzomeach Chai Medaber are all talking about change and the introduction of volition. And Rabbeinu says that you will see that all these elements are over here, the union of going out when there's light and when there's no light. They're going in the forest. They made a mistake they lost their way in the forest and they were attacked by robbers. And Rabbeinu starts in saying, well, how these robbers came into being. One time there was a hunger. Somebody came to town and said, anybody who would like food should come to him. And a few people came to him. And he made it, he tricked them. Anybody who understood that he does not need him, he's not fodder for his tricks, he pushed him off. To one, he would say, listen, you can be a Baal Malacha, you can work, you can. You could work in the flour mill. He only took smart people with him. And he went with them to the forest. And he told them, now let's become robbers. And other places. And people, merchants come here. And we will rob them. And we will amass the fortune. And these are the robbers that fell upon the cripple. The important nakuda over here is the time of hunger, the time of distress, is the time of test. The way to actually make it through the test and the hardships is with tmimus. Just be simple. The minute that there is, that somebody is going out with chokhmas, somebody is going out with philosophy, with overthinking, he becomes a ready prey for the Sitra Achra. Somebody who is simple, what are you talking about? Just go ahead and just, what is right, what is wrong. Just use it and go. The people, Rabbeinu says in Sefer Amidus, anybody who is Ish Emes, he can see if the other one is lying. He can tell. People are usually being scammed. They fall for get rich quick scheme or get happy quick scheme. Whenever it is that they have greed in them. Somebody that is not greedy, you can't scam. Somebody who does not look to get away with murder does not fall for get happy quickly scam. He says these gazlonim are the gazlonim of the emes lamite. This is what they're stealing. He says here, we're going to find, these are the ways that are going to Leipzig and Breslau. We said it before, Leipzig and Breslau were the towns where there was the center of what they call enlightenment, of heresy, Papikorsis. The Sitra Achra can chap people who are saying, you don't need to be so firm. You don't need to be take it easy. You know, you live in the real world. You know, there's a real world out there. You're going to go out there where you're going to be so careful. You're going to be, you know, it's just like that's not. You got to live in the world. You know, you got to live in the world. You got to live in the world. You become susceptible to being preyed upon by prey animals. And the main way that they prey upon a person is that they prey upon your sense of self-interest. Somebody would con a person when the person is greedy, as we said before. From here, we're actually getting down into the answer of how it is that you can get away from them. If you'll notice, we'll just point a little bit further. Just a second. He says that they found that this Gazlonim attacked them, and his secretary and the Balagola that could run away, they ran away. And they came and they took the box with the money, asking him, why don't you run away? He says he can't walk. So they took the chest of money and the horses, and he was staying. And he stayed on the wagon. And the secretary and the Balagala and the wagon driver that ran to wherever they ran, they realized since they took, you know, monetary obligations from Britain, why should they, you know, should go into the, you know, go back home? You know, they can become prisoners. So why should they go there? In other words, what is stated over here is when the person is being simple, they don't fall prey to the schemes of the Gazlonim. But the Tzaddik Emes, who is represented by the cripple, is actually getting himself, he's making himself a bait on the hook. Rabbeinu says in Torah Zayin Chelek Beis, in Torah Ches Chelek Beis, that there is a tefillah, when a tefillah is b'fchinas din. A tefillah is, as we learned in the Kutam Maran, that when the tzaddik is mispalel tefillah b'fchinas din, you know, he's like taking the Torah with bekoyach, that this creates a state of constrictions and verdicts. And we said that this is something that, you know, that causes a pgam. We answered that there's also a state that when the tzaddik does it b'chavona, because the mishpat fell down into the klipas, the midas mishpat fell down to the klipas, and therefore we have to go to the Goyshe courts to judge in our favor in order to extricate the judgment that fell into the klipas. This is a very, very important principle. Rabbeinu says it, elaborates upon it in Torah 8 in the second chelik, in which he says that the tefillah is a b'chinas din, this is the food of the Sitra Achra. That's their milieu. They are hooked on this. This is like waving a packet of heroin to a junkie. A tefillah b'chinas din. Whenever there's a tefillah b'chinas din, they swallow it up and they swallow the kedusha. What happens is that when there is a Baal Tefillah, who is a Baal Koyach, who is very, very, very powerful, what he does is he davens a Tefillah B'chilas Din b'chavona, on purpose. The Sitra Achra swallows that Tefillah, but being that the Tzaddik Baal HaKoyach, the Baal Tefillah that has a great force, is so strong that the Sitra Achra cannot swallow it, cannot swallow his Tefillah. What happens is the Tefillah, Rabbeinu says, gets stuck in the throat, in the swallowing mechanism of Sitra Achra. And what it does, it forces the Sitra Achra to expectorate, like when somebody gets something stuck in their throat, they have to throw up everything that they ate. The Sitra Achra has to expectorate everything that they have swallowed, all the kedusha they swallowed before. Ben says, but it's the tefillah still stays there. The Sitra, after he is already expectorated all the kedusha that it has swallowed, that he took from the kedusha itself, now it has to give up its own essence. Like when a person is lo'aleinu, he throws up until he has nothing to throw up, then he throws up his own essence, whatever is from himself, his bile, whatever it is, he throws up. The Sitra Achra throws its own essence. These are the Gerim. So what we are looking here to in a situation where the cripple who represents the Tzaddik Emes is bechavona going into the realm of Sitra Achra. He's going to be attacked and he's going to be taken advantage of. And this is done bechavona. These simple people, they run away. But the Tzaddik Emes stays there. And with this, as we'll notice, it takes out all the kedusha that Sitra has ever taken. It starts here with this gazlonim. They fall onto them because these are people who are smart. The smart people, they're the ones who became thieves. I'd like to talk a little bit about this particular nakuda. The things that make people thieves. Why would somebody become a thief? Somebody would become a thief because people make the mistake that in order to get, they have to take. If you don't want to give me, I will take by force. But what people don't realize that if you take, you may have, but you will never get. We mentioned this point before many times. In order to really get, you have to give. If what you want is to get, it doesn't matter whether you want to get from Kadosh Baruch Hu or you want to get from people. You are locked into a situation where you always lack. Whatever it is that you will have, you will lack. That's why the secret for somebody who has any kind of trouble, whatever it is to use the law of thank you. Rav Auer speaks about it at great length. The law of thank you is a law like any other law, meaning because Baruch has created the world with laws so we can have stability in our lives. Now is day, now is night. You know, there's laws of nature, physics, you can build things, whatever it is. Because Baruch Hu wanted these things to be consistent so we can have consistency in our lives, so that we will be able to have our choices without having to worry all the time. Is it day? Is it night? Is the bus going to come? It's not going to come. If I drop something, it's going to fall on the floor. It's going to fall up to the sky. So that we shouldn't be busy with these things, because we created a society, you know, a whole reality that is made out of laws, which we can depend on, and just let things go and operate with that particular system. Within that system, there is a law which he calls the law of thank you. The law of thank you means that if you thank HaKadosh Baruch Hu for something that you don't have, you will get whatever it is that you want. You will get out of any trouble that you have gotten into. But the trick is for you to understand that you're dealing with a Kodesh Baruch Hu. Kodesh Baruch Hu is an all-merciful Father that loves his children the way that you love your children, only more so. And any parent is aggrieved whenever his child is in trouble. The only difference is that Kodesh Baruch Hu, everything comes from him. And if HaKadosh Baruch Hu, whatever it is you have, any kind of trouble that you may have, any kind of lack that you might have, any kind of agony or suffering that you might be experiencing, it comes from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It comes from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, who loves you more than your parents ever did, and is aggrieved in your grievance. In other words, what it hurts you, it hurts him when it hurts you. It's like when your kid was a child, and you had to go through a painful process. Sometimes it could be so painful for you, you couldn't even watch it. That this is what your child is going through. How much more so Kodesh Baruch Hu? Kodesh Baruch Hu cannot avert his eyes, as it were. So whatever suffering you feel, Kodesh Baruch Hu feels it much more than you. So Kodesh Baruch Hu loves you to no end. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants to give you everything the way that you want to give everything to your children. And whatever it is you have is from him. And if you don't have, whatever it might be, health, children, money, whatever it might be, relationship, it hurts him more than it hurts you literally. The only reason why he doesn't give you that which you lack, or brings upon you or me or anybody else any kind of lack or any kind of suffering, it's because this is what is good for us. The trick in saying thank you for whatever it is that goes on with me is that I believe all that. I believe that the Kodesh Baruch Hu is my Father. He really loves me. And I believe that everything is from him. And I believe that it grieves him that I don't have. And he wants me to have. And still I don't have. So it's for my best. But. Okay. But that is the thing that holds back my deliverance. The trick is to remove the last obstacle is, if HaKadosh Baruch Hu doesn't want me to have, I don't want to have. and you say, thank you for not having that. Thank you for not giving me this. If you don't want me to have this, I don't want it. The trick becomes when we are using it as an abracadabra, as a spell. I'll say, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, and I expect Kosh Baruch Hu to give it to me. That's not what it's about. What it's about is to bring you and me to a full, complete emunah, that we will agree, even with things that have to do with the deepest points within us, where we really don't want to give it up. Maoz speaks about a couple that chuvas that, it's the thank yous and did 6 hours for this boy to do this again and again, says all these thank you sessions, whatever it is. They didn't have any children. And they came to him and they said, it's like we don't say why this is going on. It's like we did everything and we still don't have. So he says, it's because you have a problem with the Emunah. He said, the Emunah is to accept, to say if Kadosh Baruch Hu doesn't want you to have children, you don't want to have children. This is when the woman bursts out and says, no way. Says, okay. Now you know exactly where the problem is. And it says, do you believe that he is your father? Do you believe that he loves you? Do you believe that everything is from him? Do you believe that he feels for you? He feels your lack. He feels your pain. He wants you to have children. But if you don't have children, it's because right now he doesn't give them to you. Because this is the best situation for you and for your children. So she said, okay. And as it happened with that particular case, that week they already told him that she conceived. This is a story that usually doesn't happen that quickly. The idea is to find out what is it that I'm keeping behind. These guys became robbers when there was a hunger. The people that became robbers are the people that are not willing to concede. If HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants me to be hungry, I will do whatever it is that is straight and honest in order for me not to be hungry. And if I remain hungry, then it's fine. HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants to be hungry. The hunger can have a lot of different facets. The hunger can be in my ability to learn. The hunger can be in my ability to concentrate on davening. The hunger can be in my ability to speak to you people when we are learning now. And my mind is all fogged up. What can I do? The hunger is when I don't have patience to do anything. The hunger, anything that is standing on the hunger can be that I am in a state of not being able, of not trusting HaKadosh Baruch Hu to the fullest extent because of my experience, as we've said it many times before, because my story is that anybody I've ever trusted, with a position of authority over me, that was supposed to take care of me, have betrayed me in my history. So therefore, I'm doing a copy-paste on HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So I trust HaKadosh Baruch Hu up to a point. And I keep on, for various things, I said, no, this I want. This I absolutely must have. This I absolutely need to have. If you get to the point when you understand that even being in that situation, that you don't trust HaKadosh Baruch Hu fully, and you can't get out of it. I mean, you can ask HaKadosh Baruch Hu to get you out of it, and eventually he will, but you can't just say, okay, right now, cut, I'm starting and turning a new page. That in itself is a position that the Kadosh Baruch Hu has put you in. Just wait, just a second. What did you say now? You're saying that the Kadosh Baruch Hu wants me not to trust him? No, that's not what he's saying. He wants you now to be in that state, yes. And he wants you to accept it and thank him for it, because there is a secret in it. There's a birur that you're making with that. Getting out of a situation where Kadosh Baruch Hu doesn't want me to trust him. This is the chiger falling, letting himself fall prey to the gazlanim. There's a kedusha that goes deep, deep down into where your sfeikas are, where your doubts are, your self-doubts are. You think that you're doubting Kadosh Baruch Hu, but it's not the Kadosh Baruch Hu that you're doubting. You're doubting yourself. You feel that you don't deserve. You feel that you should be rejected, or whatever it is that you feel upon yourself. There is a tikkun over there. There's a tikkun for you to correct over there. And the way that you do this tikkun is by accepting that that's the way, these are the experiences that you have, and it causes you to have a certain self-image, and you're projecting it over HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and right now you're stuck in there. You're stuck there. And you bring it to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and you say, Ribono Shel Olam, thank you for that. Thank you? Yes, thank you. If you want me to be right now in this particular state, I want to be in this state. I want to get out of it also. That's a different thing. But until I do, it's fine. Thank you. I will do whatever it is that I do in this particular state. Think how much value it gives when you have this in subliminal mistrust in HaKadosh Baruch Hu, as it were, and there is a deal or some kind of a business deal or some kind of a arrangement in which you can take and nobody will know except HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And you feel, I have nobody to trust. I don't have a backing. If I don't care of myself, if I don't take care of number one, nobody else will. And you give it up for HaKadosh Baruch Hu. While you have this mistrust, it gives a value to your bechira much more so than if you have absolutely no problem. I have to take somebody else's money. Am I nuts? I have to do this kind of wiggling, this kind of arm twisting, and what do I need this for? I have to tell the bank manager, the owner of the bank, to give me the money. I asked the bank manager, he'll give you money, nikuda. Yeah, but you don't really trust. You're sort of like, because your father got you used to, if I don't feel like giving it to you, I won't give it to you. I'll use my anger because, I can really throw my weight around, not because necessarily it's the best thing for you, and you carry it for the rest of your life. And you still do what HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants. That gives a whole different meaning to your mitzvah. So there's great secrets in your character defects, as it were. Accept them and say thank you to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. When you really accept them, you do one day, another day, you say thank you, and various words you explain this, that, I feel this way, I feel that way, and this. Rav also recommend saying Mizmor Osayda, which is 8 times, like the 8 spheres from the Malchus to the Bina that takes it above nature. This is a law. It changes the world. It changes nature. Changes everything. It is even higher than tefillah. Because tefillah sometimes is answered and sometimes it isn't. Thank you is full-fledged emunah. You're creating a keli, the shefa comes. So the chigur, the cripple, represents a state of not having. And it starts with a state of acceptance. Indeed, a state of gratitude. You see, the family gives him the money to go in and do business. He lives in a state of trust. The idea is to use the state of hunger, not to be smart, not to be intelligent, not to be, find how can I fulfill whatever it is that I lack? How can I do that? The answer is acceptance. Say thank you. Don't get close to all kinds of chokhmas. Don't get close to all kinds of terutzim, maybe this way, maybe that way. Don't go there. Don't go there. Just mimas, pshitas. Chanukah is Yemei Oido. We're approaching the days of thanks. We're saying Hallel, to thank HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It's all about thanking HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It's a murdika thing. Rav Nosson says Likut Halachas, Hilchos Seder HaNachlos, on Torah base. He says a murdika thing, something that I've never thought of before, which is not necessarily a big chiddush that I didn't think about it before. But the thing that is amazing about what he says is that when you hear it, you realize two things on the spot. One, that is the absolute truth that I never realized. B, that even after I hear it and I realize that it's the truth, it still fails to really make an impression on me. He says as follows: the main simcha of Purim, Purim came because of davening. The main inyan is that when Mordechai found out whatever Haman wanted to do, so he started crying to HaKadosh Baruch Hu and fasting, and all the people were fasting. They were davening, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu saved them. This whole inyan is based on Torah basis, where a Jew has to reach a state where HaKadosh Baruch Hu answers his davening. And that in itself gives him the strength and the emunah to keep on davening, because once you already daven for something and you got it, it enriches you. And it makes you into a vessel to keep on davening and get more and more and more and more. And he says this particular sentence. He says the main simcha of Purim is the fact that the Kadosh Baruch Hu answers us. Listen to this. He's not saying the main simcha of Purim, Kadosh Baruch Hu saved us, but the fact that he saved us through davening. And you stop short and you say, just a second, whoa, what did I just hear? The main simcha is that Hashem answers you. Let's stop for a minute and contemplate on this particular sentence. The King of the universe is listening to you, and you talk to him, and you ask him, and he gives you. It should be blowing your mind. It should be blowing your mind. Think, I don't know, of whoever it is that you want something from. You get to know some kind of a billionaire, whatever it is, and he gives you $100 billion because he likes you. Wow, that's an amazing thing. Forget about that. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the king of the universe, listens to you. You speak, he listens, and he gives you. You have that kind of relationship with him. Yeah, and your point is? My point is exactly that. I can say it 100 times over, and it's still like, oh yeah, that's okay. Yeah, that's something. Isn't that something? Wow. It should be blowing our minds. We should be dancing in the streets. HaKadosh Baruch Hu listens to us. HaKadosh Baruch Hu answers our prayers. He gives us what we ask for. The King of the universe, of everything, is listening to you when you talk to him. Okay, yeah, but my mind is not on davening right now. Which means there's a crust as thick as the crust of the earth that is blocking the mind-blowing impact of the fact that you are speaking to the King of the universe and he answers your prayers. From actually getting in and exploding in your mind full force. Because if it did, there'll be no Mechira anymore. I just want to leave you with that particular machshava, this particular thought. HaKadosh Baruch Hu listens to what you say. HaKadosh Baruch Hu answers your prayers. The King is answering your prayers whenever you call upon him. It's totally mind-blowing. I apologize for the lack of coherence of the shir tonight. I have a stickle headache and my mind is not totally clear, so we sort of like bounce from one thing to the next. But let me just